Most of you will have absolutely no idea what this film is, but that's exactly why I'm doing this video. Welcome back to the Critic's Critic, a series where we critique other people's critiques of overrated or underrated pop culture. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and even longer since I did one on a film and of an underrated film. And I watched this film, Sucker Punch, the other day on Netflix, and I just assumed, because I hadn't heard literally anyone talk about it, that it was a new Netflix film that came out this year. But no, it apparently came out in 2011, and I had no idea that it even existed. And that really annoys me, because Sucker Punch was one of the most innovative and cool action films I have ever seen. But apparently, everyone hates it. I don't know why, so let's have a look at some reviews, shall we? And yes, I know I am breaking my own rule here. I've only watched this film once, but my opinion of it will only go up over time. And for those of you who haven't seen the film, don't worry, I won't spoil the film, so you can go and watch it afterwards, because I still don't understand the film myself, and I can't really spoil it without knowing the film in its entirety, but I don't think anyone does, because that's the nature of the film, so yeah. First, a review. It was actually somewhat difficult to find written reviews for this film, because for some reason all of them have just magically been taken down, and you click on the link and it just takes you to a missing page for some reason. I don't know why. Is it the reviewers being ashamed of their own reviews? I wonder. But anyway, our first review comes from Common Sense Media. And yes, I know they aren't really a film review site, but again, A, I had trouble finding written reviews, and B, they have some actually quite interesting stuff. I do often go to Common Sense Media, even though I'm not a parent. I just like seeing what parents think about films. Obviously, this film, they say, yeah, do not show it to kids, which, obviously, duh, the film's like a brothel for a majority of it. You'd be an idiot to show a kid that. And it's a very dark film. It's depressing once you figure it out. So that kind of goes without saying. So it's only a short review. So it goes in there, is it any good section, so the review says, quote, Director Zack Snyder may be trying to seduce us into thinking that Sucker Punch is a great film, but it's not. He litters the screen with one fantastical fight scene after another, drains the colour from all but a few set pieces, to be artsy, and amps up the volume on the carefully calibrated soundtrack. Even though it sports amazing CGI effects and is certainly ambitious in its reach, the movie has no weight behind it, no compelling characters, no elegant storytelling. In fact, no coherent story at all. Why does the film place so much importance on baby dolls dancing when it never actually shows her doing so? Why not just give her an entirely different mesmerizing ability? That said, there are a few notable strengths, Cornish being the best of them. She can sell pretty much any role, even this, almost. Her interactions with Malone are so authentic that they seem like they're in a different world altogether. But even her prodigious talents can't even elevate the strange brew of a film. End quote. Yep, that's the entire review. So let's just break this down like, it says, sequentially. First thing is that he drains the entire thing of colour. No, he does not. He just uses 3 different colour palettes. Yes, the film opens with a very, very grey palette, but that's meant to represent the real world. The 2 layered dream realities of that then gain more and more colour. They aren't drained of colour, they just have 2 colours which they are built around, and each one closer to the real world, it gets more and more drab for a reason. It isn't just to be artsy. Zack Snyder is smarter than that. Then the movie has no weight behind it, no compelling characters, no elegant storytelling. In fact, no coherent story at all. It has a story, you were just too dumb to understand it. This film has a very, very layered and intricate story that, yes, you might not understand it at all the first watch. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I only kind of do. I kind of know what's going on, but I know that I am just dumb and not smart enough to work it all out on the first reviewing. You, on the other hand, want to have your handhold and be told every single intricacy of the plot. It's meant to be confusing for a reason. It is one of those films which you need to watch more than once to understand. Not to enjoy, to understand. Because everyone that I've heard talk about this film say, it is entertaining, they just don't know what's happening. The next bit that was of interest was the quote, why does the film place so much importance on baby dolls dancing when it never actually shows her doing so? Why not just give her an entirely different mesmerising ability, end quote. This is another example of you having poor understanding of the film. The first dream layer is set in a brothel where the women are taught to dance in an erotic manner. So you wanting to see the dance in the first place is a bad thing to start off with, because it's meant to be a very provocative dance. Whereas instead of that, we see a metaphor of an action scene instead, and taking place instead of, which we see the action sequence instead of the actual dance, because the dance is not important, it's what the character thinks the dance represents, which is what the action scene means. I know this is all getting kind of like dense and like right in there, but this film is exactly that. And it's kind of hard to explain the plots of the film without spoiling anything, which is what I'm trying to avoid. The page here has more than just a review. It's an interesting like I'm talk to your kids about section, which again I am not a parent obviously, but I find this kind of thing intriguing because it's because they have poor understanding of on the film, so how they explain their poor understanding to their children. One of their points is, how do details like the characters' costumes and names affect how you feel about them? Which characters in the movie can be seen as role models? Which is interesting, because at the top as well, it has, in the what parents need to know, a small snippet says the main female characters are clad in skimpy clothing for much of the film, which seems hypocritical given that the film is about how a brand of oppressed girls take back their power. The movie ends up reinforcing some of the stereotypes it's theoretically out to bust, end quote. Again, because I released a video like a week ago that explained this. It was called the Male Gaze Rebuttal, and shows that just because a character is dressed in a manner that you think is evocative or skimpy doesn't mean it is. It is entirely a subjective thing. Some people have a fetish about feet, so should we avoid showing characters' feet in films because people might find it erotic? No, because that would be stupid. It's all about context, was what my video was about. Yes, in the brothel bit of the film, yes, their costumes are meant to be sexy, because that's the whole point. But then you flip that in the action dream sequences where they're wearing a variation of their costume, this time as them in charge of their world. They're taking the power back to them. So in that way it's empowering. But no, people just look at the costumes and go, oh no, it's a hypocrite. But you in the same review want to see baby dolls erotic dance, so we all know who the actual hypocrite is here. Video review today was also quite hard to find because there were none that I could find that were not like really cringy, so I apologize if I am also as cringy as the guy in this video. If I am, I humbly apologize and I'll try to fix it. But no, this guy is he's called Chris Stuckman, and yes, he's a YouTuber, but I couldn't find any actual video reviews from actual critics, because apparently there aren't any, but everyone still hates the film.
Very difficult for me to sum up the plot of this movie because, in all honesty, I just saw the film and I'm not entirely sure actually what the plot is. That's a bad sign.
Is it though? I know of countless films that have like confusing storylines and plots, yet people praise them and pat them on the back for being artsy and obscure. Yet when this film does it, it's apparently a bad thing. Like, it's an action film, that should be an improvement, no? Like, I keep hearing people like calling out action films for being shallow and just garbage, like popcorn films that have no substance to them. But then when this film comes along and tries to add substance, depth and meanings to an action film, you will turn around and say it's all too complex. Which one do you want?
Father is, doesn't want her anymore. The mother's dead. He just kind of throws her there. Then all of a sudden it's not a mental institution anymore. It's a place where young girls are thrown and then forced to become essentially prostitutes. It just kind of switches from that at one point, and there is really no explanation. I'm being honest with you here.
There is an explanation. You just can't be asked trying to work it out. For those of you who haven't seen the film, skip ahead like in 20 seconds, because I will quickly explain this all. None of the film actually takes place in the real world. All of it's a dream. Not in Baby Doll's mind, but in Sweet Pea's. So she can make it up however she wants. There is an explanation for it at the end of the film. Okay, end of spoilers. Let's carry on.
The main girl is then asked to dance. She's asked to show everyone what she can do. And all of a sudden she's in some other world fighting these three creatures, like jumping up into the air, crushing things, blowing things up, has superhuman abilities. And then all of a sudden she opens her eyes again, she's done dancing, and this little sequence that we get with the action is never explained. It was all in her head or something.
Being all in her head is being explained. That's an explanation the film is handing to you. That is all in her head. What other explanation do you want from the film?
Apparently, they have to all band together to be able to escape from this place, but whenever this girl closes her eyes to do a dance for somebody, it's an action sequence in some crazy place that relates to one of these 5 items that she's supposed to get. And I don't know what in the world that means.
Do you know what a metaphor is? Because apparently you don't.
Terrific special effects, really well choreographed action. Yes, there's a lot of special effects done, there's a lot of fake stuff that's in there, but it all is technically amazing.
There's a lot of fake stuff in there. Again, this is the Pacific Rim situation again. How are you meant to film these dream sequences without the use of CGI? And the entire train one is a single long take. That's impressive. Even more because it has computer-generated imagery. Just because a film has special effects means nothing on the quality of the film.
It's so strange that someone would ask her to do a dance for a customer. She closes her eyes, and all of a sudden she's fighting these things. And it has something to do with what is actually happening in the real world. Like in the real world, they're going after one of these items they need to escape. In her mind, they're going after the item, but they're like fighting Germans. It looks amazing, you know, but why?
Metaphor. Dream sequence. Are any of these making any connection?
Visually well done. It's essentially kind of like Matrix Revolutions.
How dare you compare the masterpiece that is Sucker Punch to the pile of trash that is the Matrix Revolutions.
The special effects for that movie, magnificent. However, the story, what in the world is going on? And I would actually recommend Revolutions purely based on the visuals. And
are you high right now? This guy would recommend The Matrix Revolutions because of its special effects over the previous 2 Matrix films.
I think for this movie overall ain't that bad. And Zack Snyder is a wonderful visual director. I don't want to say I wish he made it like all the other movies that are out there. I just wish he made it a little more accessible. Because I walked out with this film and I heard people saying, oh my gosh, that was horrible, that was horrible, that was awful, what in the world did I just see? I heard all these people saying these things. We want to love this type of action because it's so fun, but if we don't know what is going on, we can't.
I would argue a film is not objectively situational for a particular audience. That's all just a subjective opinion from the minds of the film goers. Sucker Punch wasn't what you were expecting. That's why it's called Sucker Punch. If you go into it expecting just a mind-numbing stupid action film, you are going to hate it because it's not that. It's arguably not an action film. It's arguably a fantasy film. So to finish today, we'll have a look at some audience reviews. We won't do Rotten Tomatoes because after thinking about it a bit after my Captain Marvel film, like the people on there aren't particularly like from critics. So instead, I am using Letterboxd, which is a site for like film buffs to come and review films, list them, talk about them, or whatnot. I am on Letterboxd. My link is in the description or right here if you want to follow me. But anyway, enough of the self plug. Here's some Sucker Punch reviews from Letterboxd. Graham J. Watching Sucker Punch is like watching a friend you don't like play a video game for 2 hours. Making things worse is the stranger Sepatrini, both aggressively wanking over his iPod full of shit re-workings of your favourite songs. Sucker Punch is not only as banned as you've heard, it's worse. End quote. This is bizarrely a review I've heard all over the place about this film, like the video game thing. Yes, it is extremely video game style. That's the point. It can be any style it wants because it's elaborate dream sequences. But in what way is it like watching a friend you don't like play a video game for 2 hours? It's a film. You don't have control over a film. That's why it's called a film and not a video game. What did you want? Like an actual video game in your film? Oh, excuse us for not knowing that. And you are the first person I have heard to criticise the absolute banger that is this film's soundtrack. Yes, they're all popular music, but again, it has a point, because they're all the songs that have been played on the radio while Baby Doll dances. And those songs carry over into the action sequences very, very well. Robin rates it a half star and goes, I think this is my third time we're trying to finish this film, and I just can't do it. It fills me with so much rage. I am liable to start hulking out. I usually try and watch a film to the end before I give it a rating, but this film has officially beaten me. There is so much already written about how this film fails, much more articulate than I could ever be. Are you sure about that? I just want to shout, rape is not an easy plot device from the rooftops, but to be honest, I am so tired of shouting it time and time again. What's the point? You'd think 3 billion years of evolution would make us able to create well-rounded, fully clothed female superheroes to actually inspire and kick ass, but apparently that is far too advanced of an idea to put into motion. If this film was a physical being, I would throw my own shit at it. And then she just swears. First of all, calm down. Now let's try and dissect this a bit. First of all, you don't particularly explain why you hate the film. You kind of only bring 2 straw man arguments in, being the film includes rape, which it does not show it just alludes to it. And yes, the bad guys are the ones who do it, so that's why they're bad guys. And the second thing is the fully clothed superheroes thing again, which I don't want to reiterate. Just watch my video on this. The only other thing I have to add to it is that you determining how these other characters should be dressed completely shows that you don't understand the film. Because that whole aspect of the film is that it's, in the dream sequences, it's the girls' options of what they want to wear. They're not being forced to wear them this time. Because the difference is consent, which you don't seem to get. Because you apparently are adamant that you are right, and that the characters should dress in this particular way to not offend you. Who do you think you are to tell someone else that? Moving on, Russell Heinlein goes, in case you were wondering, this is still one of the ugliest, most brainless, most unpleasant, and most terrible films made in your lifetime. Now, care explaining why? Do you want to explain upon that? It's just, no, your comments seem to just say that, no, it's just, you hate Zack Snyder, and cannot see through your blind rage at him to actually acknowledge that he made something cleverer than you. Interesting thing is that if you go to the actual letterbox page of Sucker Punch, it does not really represent 22% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yes, granted, it isn't like it isn't all the way on the opposite end of the spectrum, but it's kind of more towards the middle, which means not everyone thinks it's a pile of garbage. Most people really enjoy this film. The people who don't enjoy it are the people who aren't given it the time of day. I'll probably end this now, because everything that can be said has. I have talked about everything that I want to about this film. The best choreography I have seen in any other action film, hands down, no contest. I would watch this film I would just watch the action scenes from this film on repeat. And yes, there is actually more to the film than the action scenes, because it does explain them, which everyone apparently doesn't think it does. It weaves a very complex narrative that rewards paying attention, which I know isn't something that people used to doing during an action film, but tough luck, as Zack Snyder wants to do, is something different and make you think, just like he did in Watchmen. Okay, that's all. So, hopefully I haven't completely lost you, or hopefully you don't think I'm like completely I'm insane now. So yeah, I will see you in my next video. Farewell.